Hello everyone, my name is Matt McGuinness. I'm a learning advisor at Edith Cowan University, and today I'd like to talk about verb tenses and grammar. We're going to start by talking about some of the common academic tenses and why we use them. Then we're going to go into a bit more detail. We're going to talk about the present simple, the past simple, the present perfect, future with will. We're going to talk about be and adjective, passive forms. We're going to look at an example essay and finally look at subject-verb agreement. So, thinking about academic essays. In academic essays, we often use these tenses. We use the present simple because we're talking about facts, something that's true. We use past simple to talk about a completed event. We use present perfect to talk about an experience in the past which affects now. We talk about the future with will because we're using a prediction or giving a prediction. We use be and adjective to describe something, to talk about something using an adjective. We also use passive forms to talk about a situation where the subject can't do itself. It needs to be done by the object. So, first of all, let's talk about present simple. The present simple is often used for facts and regular events. Okay, so how do we make the present simple? Well, we just use the present form of the verb. It's very easy. So the verb to be, for example, we use is or are or catch or catches for the verb catch. For example, look, here we are, we have present simple. There is a problem with the software. It's true, it's a fact, so we use present simple. There are 24 hours in a day. Again, it's a fact, so we use present simple. Computers are common in most houses. Most students catch public transport. There we go. Past simple. Why do we use past simple? Well, it's used to show an action which is completed. We use the past form of a verb. Did. Used. For example, the doctor instructed the patient. It's a completed action. It's happened in the past. Last year, technicians upgraded the database. So we know it's happened last year. It's a completed event. The professor delivered the lecture at 3 p.m. Again, the time. We know it's past. We know it happened in the past. It's past simple. We also use present perfect. Present perfect is used to show an action that occurred in the past and affects now. When we create the present perfect, we need to use this form, has or have plus past participle. So often we use the present perfect when we have this expression, in recent years. So in recent years, the situation has changed. So the situation is not the same. It's changed in recent years. Or another example, nowadays scientific researchers have become reliant on technology. It's something that's happened in the past. We don't know exactly when it's happened in the past, but it affects now. We often use future with will to describe an action we expect to take place in the future, like for a prediction. So for example, we use will and verb. We don't use the to. For example, the internet will continue to grow. Managers will need more training to cope. So will plus verb. Will plus verb. It's a fairly easy way to talk about the future. Be an adjective. Some part of the verb to be often goes with an adjective to describe a subject. So something is something. For example, university is interesting. University is the subject, which equals it. It is interesting. Interesting. What is interesting? It's an adjective. We might also say it is enjoyable. The time taken was appropriate. So we're using a form of the verb to be plus the adjective. Passives are very commonly used at university. We use the passives when the subject is known or the subject is assumed. Let's have a look. The patient was instructed to take the medicine. Who told the patient to do that? Well, the doctors did. So the patient was instructed. So was instructed is the passive form. We could say doctors instructed the patient to take the medicine. But if we know that it's a doctor or we assume it's a doctor, we don't need to say the doctor. Second example, public transport. Public transport is often used by students. Okay, so our essay has been about students. It's been about what students get up to. We know that we're talking about the subject. We know what the subject is. So we don't have to say students often use public transport. No, we can just say public transport is often used. In the next example, research has been conducted. So we don't need to say researchers conducted the research. No, that would be silly. We assume it's done by researchers. Now let's talk about some of the passive forms that are commonly used, some of the structures that we use. When we use the present simple tense, well, you'll often find is or are plus past participle. When we use the past simple, we use was or were plus past participle. If we have present perfect, has or have been plus past participle. Future with will be plus past participle. So let's have a look at this essay example and see how these various tenses are used. So in recent years, again, as we mentioned before, in recent years is often associated with present perfect. So in recent years, cloud computing has become a regular part of life for many people around the world. It's a trend which has happened in the past. It has happened in the past and it affects now. We don't know exactly when. If we knew exactly when, we would use past simple. But it's in this sentence, in recent years, we're not being exact. We're saying sometime in the past, so we use the present perfect. Second sentence, for the purposes of this essay, cloud computing is defined as. So is defined as, we could say, is a passive form. The essay can't define itself, or cloud computing cannot define itself. So we are doing the defining. But we don't want to talk about I or we. We just want to make it passive. In the third sentence, this essay will discuss. So we're talking about what's going to happen in the future. So we're using the verb discuss, but we're starting with will plus discuss. We don't say will to discuss. No, it's just will discuss. The three main advantages. And so that we've got a nice little thesis statement there at the end. So often you'll find these tenses, the present perfect, the passive, and the future with will are used in an introduction. Here we go. Talking about that in a bit more detail. So, has become a part of life. Verb tense, present perfect. How do we make the present perfect? Well, just to repeat, we use has or have plus past participle. It has become. It affects now. Is defined as. So, just repeating, we use passive present simple tense. We're using is plus past participle. Cloud computing cannot define itself. Another example, the island is situated in the Pacific Island. Well, the island cannot situate itself. So, it's passive. We use the passive form of the verb there. Talking about the future, this essay will discuss the three main advantages of using cloud computing. So we'll discuss. Later in your essay you're going to find this information. It's talking about what will happen in the future. So, like we said, will plus verb with no to. This essay will demonstrate in the future there will be similar issues to this. So, more examples of the verb will. In the body paragraph, well, academic English will often find something like this. The first main advantage of using cloud computing is convenience. So there we go. That's the is plus adjective. And we're using that in our topic sentence. The topic sentence, the first sentence which comes in a body paragraph. After that, we're using can access. So we're using the modal verb can plus the next verb. And this is the verb here is access. For example, the next one, for example, information on the cloud can be downloaded. So can is a modal verb plus be downloaded. Now downloaded is a past participle. Be plus past participle gives me the feeling that it must be passive. Now the information can't download itself, so yes, it must be passive. So let's have a look at that in a bit more detail. Individuals who use cloud computing can access their data from everywhere, from anywhere. We have can plus verb, no to. So other verbs that you could use with can do, can become, can attempt, can try. These modal verbs, well, we often use modal verbs in English, very useful verbs. They, other examples include could, should, would, must, have to, need to. Same structure. Must do, must become, must attempt. Should do, should become, should attempt. We use the modal verb plus the next verb, but we don't use to. And as we mentioned before, we're using it here in the passive. So can be downloaded. Okay, the information can't download itself. The information cannot download itself, so we need to put it into the passive. Information can be downloaded via mobile devices. So to make can into passive, we use be and the past participle. What about our conclusions? Well, in a conclusion, you might find sentences such as this. In conclusion, it is clear. So there we go, is plus adjective. That cloud computing has numerous benefits. So has, well, it's not present perfect because it hasn't got a past participle afterwards. It says has numerous. So that's just a regular present simple. It appears, present simple, and then we're using the future with will there as well. So, subject-verb agreement. In English, it's really important that subjects agree with their verbs. For example, we say it is. We don't say it are. It was. We don't say it were. No, it must be it was. So, it is present singular. You could also say it makes. Again, present singular. It was is past singular. If you were going to do past singular with the verb make, you would say it made, and that would be past singular. If we're going to talk about a plural verb, we can say they are in present, or they make for present, or they were for past. Again, they make for plural. So some verbs will change. For example, the verb to be, it will change. Is, was, are, were. Other verbs like make are called regular verbs and they don't change the same way. Subject-verb agreement. Here's some more information to show you how we need to make these subjects agree with their verbs. So this first one, a singular subject takes a plural verb. So what is the subject? The subject here is the exhibition. So the exhibition, we could say, is the same as it. It is drawing huge crowds. So singular. There is only one exhibition. However, if we're going to have a plural subject, it needs to take a plural verb. So the reasons for the breakdown of the equipment have not yet been established. So the reasons, they have. So plural, there are many reasons. So we could say they have not yet been established, or the reasons for the breakdown of the equipment. Again, we're saying that the reasons for the breakdown of the equipment, that's a noun phrase. A noun phrase subject, and in this case it happens to be a plural subject. Here are some areas that often cause problems. So some of these pronouns are singular. They always followed by a singular verb. So each, anybody, everyone, neither, every, anyone, either, everybody, all of these are followed by a singular verb. So everyone was, neither was, each is, everyone is. Even though we think everyone must be plural, actually it works as a singular. So everyone is interested in this subject. Everybody goes. Again, a singular. Singular because it goes.